Parliament Rigathi Gachagua was this morning charged with fraudulently acquiring 7.3 billion shillings between the year 2013 and 2020. The charge is among 6 counts that the MP is facing. He's charged with allegedly defrauding the Nyeri County government of 27 million shillings and allegedly acquiring public property worth 6 million shillings. He's also facing allegations of intent of unlawfully dispose of 104 million shillings, received from Bungoma County government. The MP was arraigned in court this morning after spending the weekend in police custody following his arrest on Friday at his home in Nyeri.
We are now about to give the time to you, which you are going to answer. We'd like to find out which language you'd like the candidate to use. English.
Right, so I bring in our senior reporter, Rita Tinina, who's been following up on this story very closely, joining us via way of phone. Rita Tinina, good afternoon. Kindly bring us up to date.
Well, a very good afternoon to you here at the Milimani Law Courts. The Anti-Corruption Court is currently on a short break, took a break at around 10 minutes past midday, and that is to give the Chief Magistrate, Lawrence Mugambi, time to consider what sort of bond to give the Mathira MP this morning. Those charges that you mentioned earlier, it is what the MP has been seeking to know, what his legal team has been demanding to know, as well as his fellow legislators, those allied to UDA. Since Friday, they have been questioning and wanting to know why the MP was being held after being arrested at his Nyeri home. They say he was just arrested. He was arrested at 3 a.m. On Friday, and they are questioning why. Then he wasn't arraigned in court. His lawyer, the lawyer leading his batch of legal counsel, Kioko Kilukumi, told the court how he was arrested at dawn, saying 20 police officers were at his home at 3 a.m. They used 5 cars. They arrived at the DCI headquarters on Kiambu Road at around 10. And so he was questioning, if he was in Nairobi at 10, why wasn't he arraigned in court perhaps by midday? And that is what is making his fellow legislators say this is politically motivated. And as you mentioned there, he's facing six counts. Notable among them is what on the charge sheet appears as count number 5, and that is allegations of fraudulently acquiring 7.3 billion shillings between the year 2013 and 2020. And this morning, the prosecution arguing that the legislator should be held and not released on a free bond. The prosecution had earlier on, after the charges were read out to him, had earlier applied for a free bond, saying the legislator, once he is released, any time that the court wants him to appear, he will appear. Kioko Kilukumi arguing that the only deterrent that should have the court then detain him is whether he will appear for a hearing. And the lawyer gave the assurance that he will be made available once that date is set. The prosecution did not have any objection to the bond, but opposed a free bond and asked the court, the prosecution asking the court to look at count number 5, and that is the count of allegedly fraudulently acquiring 7.3 billion shillings, and telling the court that once it is deciding on what kind of a bond to issue him, it should consider those amounts. His lawyers had argued and told the court that the amounts here should not be what is will determine the bond. They said he is a legislator, he is a respectable member of the community, and so should be given time and the conditions that are necessary for him to serve the constituents of Mathira. And so right now we are waiting for Chief Magistrate Lawrence Mugambi to come back to court. The court was to resume at around 1:45, running a bit late. But we hope in the next half hour or 1 hour, then we should be knowing whether the MP will be released on bond and what kind of bond that will be. Brenda.
Richard, just in a minute before I let you go, we know that the Mathira Member of Parliament, Rigathi Gachagua, has always said that this case started a long time ago. Police have been investigating it. Why have they taken so long? And they decided to arrest him on a Friday so as to spend the weekend over the weekend in prison.
That is one of the issues that the lawyers raised in court. Kioko Kilukumi citing two cases at the High Court. Some 2 years back, there was some frequency, some trend where accused persons were being arrested on a Friday and arraigned in court on Monday. So Kioko Kilukumi saying the two cases at the High Court, that the High Court had pronounced itself on those cases, saying what he termed as the Kamata Friday, the court had discouraged that to happen. But when the prosecution spoke before court, they argued that the chief magistrate, the anti-corruption court, does not have the mandate to consider what was decided by the High Court. And so the prosecution was saying the argument that you cannot be arrested on a Friday and arraigned in court on a Monday, as had been pronounced by the High Court, he said that is out of the mandate of the anti-corruption court. So when the judge, the chief magistrate comes back, then we'll be able to know what the way forward is.
Much Rita Tinina, senior reporter, right there live for us, Akilibawi of one at the Milimani Law Court, to wait for the Chief Magistrate Lawrence Mugambi to come back and give the way forward. And it comes to that case that is touching on Mathira Member of Parliament Rigathi Gachagua, who's been arraigned in court today after being arrested on Friday, early Friday morning at his home in Nyeri County. But then back to school, and the schools are reopened this morning for the first term of 2021 academic calendar, with many parents decrying the tough economic